Yo, what is up guys? Grim here, and in today's video, we're going to be tackling the Harbinger Watchstone conspiracy. That's right, we're doing a little bit of myth busting today. So, let's start where it all began. So, in the Ritual League, we have new Atlas ascendancies, and early on, people were looking for the most overpowered strategies possible, and one of them popped up in the form of farming Harbingers in Valdo's Rest. So Valdo's Rest has two notable nodes here: Ominous Arrival, which adds an extra Harbinger, and Diplomatic Escort, which makes that Harbinger be joined with a ton more buddies. How many more buddies? Well, you can get anywhere between 4 all the way up to about 10 plus Harbingers guaranteed in every single map you run, forever. So you put a white map in, 10 Harbingers, anywhere between 4 to 10. I can give you those numbers because I've ran hundreds of these maps now, and I can tell you that's about the range. So pretty interesting there. So people decided, I can get a ton of money from running these Harbingers. And, they were right. You can get Exalted Shards, you can get Ancient Shards, Annulment Shards, Harbinger Shards, and Mirror Shards. Mirror Shards have a chance to drop from Diplomatic Escort, and here's where everything gets a little bit weird. So, everyone's doing these Harbingers, they're checking them out, and they're, thinking about how they can take this to the next level. And of course, the natural place to look is the new craftable Watchstones. So that's exactly what they did. They took a look and they were like, what can I get on these brand new craftable Watchstones which would juice up my Harbinger currency? Well, everyone settled on the modifier called Auspicious. The Auspicious modifier makes Harbingers and areas drop rarer value currency shards. And everyone started rolling these, and they were putting them in their Atlas, and the results were staggering. People were getting, many mirror shards. I've heard rates of like 1 mirror shard in 10 maps. People were building whole mirrors in a mapping session. People were linking me their mirror shard stacks early on in the league. People reputable from my chat, and they were telling me these things were insane. So I took it for a spin, and I can pretty reliably tell you that, it was pretty legit. You could get a ton of Exalted Shards, and you could also farm Mirror Shards, which was completely insane. And, I even went and actually made a video about it. A few people probably saw it, but then something really weird happened. One night, in New Zealand time and Australian time, really late at night, bam! Exalted Shards weren't dropping as often anymore. People who were getting a ton of Mirror Shards before, no more Mirror Shards. They still had the Watchstone in, they were still doing everything the same, but suddenly the loot had been slashed. Everyone was saying that, it had been nerfed, it had been shadow nerfed, all sorts of things. And, what was previously one of the best mapping and currency strategies in the game had suddenly been changed overnight, seemingly out of the blue. Everyone was calling it a shadow nerf. So shadow nerf essentially is referred to by the community as something that has happened, a change that has taken place in the game, which is not reported by the devs, no patch notes, no comment, nothing. We still to this day don't know if they changed anything, and that's why we had to do a bit of myth busting. So on one end of the thing, we had 2 or 3 Exalt Shards on average per map, tons of Mirror Shards on one end in a single mapping session. What do we have now? Well, let's take a look at the landscape right now. So if you take a look at the Watchstones right now, they're worth 14.5 Exalts, an extremely high price for a Watchstone. Absolutely the most expensive Watchstone that I've seen, per modifier. And that makes me think that there is still a little bit of weight to this strategy. I've had people tell me they're still getting really good returns. They still think the Watchstone's insane. They might still get some Mirror Shards. People have been telling me all sorts of things. Looking at this price, they could be right. But there's only one way to find out for sure, and that is to test it with science. So we need to set up an experiment. We need to do 100 maps with just the normal Harbinger modifiers, and we need to do 100 maps with the Watchstone in. And we needed to check the results and see what kind of an increase in profit we were getting. I would expect that it would probably be fairly large, and you would get a significant and noticeable increase from putting this massively expensive Watchstone into your Atlas. So let's take a look at the results, shall we? All right, so first thing we're going to look at is the control. How much are you going to get just from running Harbingers normal in Alkengro maps, with no Watchstone, no nothing. Let's take a look at the results. Well, we got 16.5 annulments, 4-ish, 5 Harbinger orbs, 2.5 exalts, and we got 23 ancients in 100 maps. And I did the math, this works out to be about 7 chaos on average per map from these harbingers, which, you know, it's nothing to sneeze at, but it's also not something you're gonna write home about. You know, it's not crazy. You'd have to do many maps to, you know, make up a ton of currency, but, you know, on average, if you run, you know, 10 maps, you're gonna almost make an exalt. You know, pretty good, not too bad. All right, so there's a few variables that you need to understand though. So of course we have the range of harbingers. So we have anywhere between 4 all the way up to 10 plus harbingers. So that's going to definitely affect results somewhat. And we also have 2 different harbinger types. We have the traditional harbinger, which looks a bit like a blue ghost. And then we also have the super armored and juiced out crown wearing harbingers who drop significantly more shards. So there is 2 different things which are really gonna make each map feel different. You know, and we needed an effective sample size to tell, and I think 100 is a suitable number, but, you know, there still will be some variance in there, and you do have to make sure that, you know, you're not taking these things as fact. But yeah, works out to be about 7 chaos a map. So, if we invest 15 exalts in this Watchstone, how much of a return do we think we're gonna get? How much more loot should we expect to get? And are we going to get any more mirror shards? Well, I ran 100 maps and we have the results over here. Bam. We got 7 more ancients than we did in the standard maps. We got, how many more? 4 more annulments. We got about 1.5 more exalts, and we almost got, you know, 3.5 more harbinger orbs. So is that actually that insane? Absolutely not. It has absolutely been nerfed. You know, conspiracy solved. I would say that they guaranteed change something behind the scenes without telling us. You know, no mirror shards, you know, no insane amount of exalts like we were getting earlier. It was absolutely nerfed, whether it was a bug or, you know, they just decided it was too powerful or something like that. Something changed early on, and the once great Watchstone has been reduced to about a 40% more multiplier on Harbinger shard value. That's what it kind of works out to be. So you get about 7 chaos on average per map with the normal one. You get about 10 chaos on average with the Watchstone in. So if you were to run maps and try and make back the money of the Watchstone and pay it back, it would actually take you about 483 maps run to pay back the cost of the Watchstone in the benefits you get from it. So that's a significant amount of maps. You know, absolutely crazy. You'd have to literally map for a few days straight. And, you know, that is definitely a sizable amount of juicing to do. Now, of course, these are Alcon Go. 10C profit per Alcon Go is very good for a lot of players, and it's in raw currency drops. It's not factoring in all the other juicy stuff you get from Harbingers like XP. It's not factoring in all the beyond juice that you could get from them. You know, you get tons of maps from Harbingers, tons of other currency. You know, Harbingers are pretty sweet. And, you know, if you picked up smaller currency shards like Chaos and stuff like that, you'd probably make even more. But, you know, if you're just looking at the high level numbers here, you know, 10C per map with the Watchstone in, you know, you run 10 maps, that's 100 chaos. So every 10 maps, you make an exalt in pure currency gains, doing the Valdo's Rest Harbinger strat. Pretty good. Now, there is a way to avoid that hefty 483 number. Most of the time, items like this have a fairly stationary kind of price point. They don't generally drop too much, and they don't generally go up too much. And that is, the reason for that is because alterations have a fairly high price, and to roll this Watchstone is probably going to cost you 15 exalts alone. You know, so essentially, I don't think it's going to go down in price, and I don't think it's really going to go up in price. So it'll probably stay the same price. So you can kind of buy it when you want to farm, put it in, you know, boom. And then when you're done with it, sell it on. And then if you need it again later, just buy another one and sell it at the same price. So you're essentially getting that 40% more multiplier for free. So, you know, if 10C per map, Alcon Go sounds good to you, definitely consider this strategy pretty good. But is it what it once was? No. Conspiracy busted. It has absolutely been nerfed, and it isn't that powerful. Okay, so there is one other possibility. Why it's worth so much money? You know, maybe outside of the fact that they're worth so much to roll in alterations, there might be another reason. And that reason might be that these Watchstones, in fact, stack. You can put 4 of these Watchstones into your Valdo's Rest area here. Do they stack together? Do they multiply together? Maybe. These are all possibilities that we need to investigate. And I decided, of course, to buy 4 of them. And I decided to do 50 maps to kind of test the waters, see if they stack together and what kind of currency we would get if they did. So, of course, I ran those 50 maps and here are the results. Staggeringly similar to the one Watchstone results. And I think they're similar enough to the fact that, you know, I'm pretty certain that these modifiers do not stack. I would actually probably bet money on it. And, you know, I think you would see significantly higher results if they did. Due to the fact that we saw about a 40% increase from no Watchstone to Watchstone, you would expect to see, you know, at least like a 60 or 80% increase in loot from no Watchstone to 4 Watchstones, which we're not seeing here. We're seeing very similar numbers to the 1 Watchstone area. You know, so definitely does not stack in my opinion. So that's kind of that myth busted as well. We're on a roll here. So, you know, overall, is it worth doing? Absolutely. If you're a kind of, you know, an Alchemgo kind of gamer, you can stack this stuff up with Metamorph and, you know, get some Gilded Metamorph action in here. You know, all that good stuff. Thaldo's Rest is an incredibly profitable area by itself. And, you know, if you want to make an extra 3 chaos per map, you can absolutely do that with the Watchstone. And, you know, you can pretty much get it for free if you sell it on afterwards. So pretty nice. Now, there is a few other possibilities here that you can do to try and get to those mirror shards, which we weren't able to get to after the nerf. And that is by stacking the Thaldo's Rest kind of passives with the Watchstone, with the Sextant modifier, which makes Harbingers drop additional currency shards. If you do this, you can effectively get a ton more shards, you know, and kind of condense the amount of maps you would need to do to get a mirror shard. You can also stack this with stuff like Infused Harbinger on the map device, as well as Harbinger Scarabs to get more Harbinger juice in one map, and, you know, effectively, you know, concentrate all of your juice into one map. Now, this really does detract from the main appeal of this strategy, which was Alch and Go. But, you know, if you're really chasing those mirror shards, you could look into doing this. You know, so the main variables are, you know, the Sextant modifier, a map boss with like 3 bosses, so city square. You could also twin it, so you get 6 bosses worth of the Sextant shards dropping. You know, Harbinger, Scarab, and also Infused Harbinger on the map device. You could also fracture the map so you can keep the Sextant around for longer, but, you know, I'm not really sure that's worth it. I did 3 full juiced maps to kind of test it out. I got 5 Exalt Shards, 3 Annulments, you know, 1 Harby Orb, and 4¼ Ancient Orbs from 3 maps. So definitely a lot of extra juice. You can see in 3 maps, I almost got what I got in, you know, about 13 or 14 maps. You know, maybe even a bit more than that, sorry. You know, probably more like 17 maps in 3 maps. So, you know, you can definitely juice up your Harbies a lot. But at the end of the day, if you don't get a mirror shard, you'll probably be coming up about even or short. You know, so overall, the strategy has been destroyed by the secret grinding gear nerf hammer. Unfortunately, it was very overpowered while it lasted, but yeah, Conspiracy no longer. It has been nerfed, and you know, while it is still reasonably good to run, I don't think that you're going to be making any massive amounts of mirrors running this strategy, and you're definitely going to want to look in other places for that sweet, sweet money, unless you're looking for a relaxing Alch and Go map strategy where you can make a reasonable currency per hour. So with all that said, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed my investigation of the Harbinger Watchstone. With all that said, guys, see you guys in the next one, and cheers.